Really?
Sounds so much like Clooney to me.
Sounds like Pitt.
Fuck you.
Brad Pitt or George Clooney?
Clooney.
Really? I'm gonna go with Pitt.
ER.
He has a better body. My number one is probably a pretty common one. I think it's kind of like your guy that asks questions, but it's people that don't know how to whisper. And I'm not even talking about the people that talk in movies, because that annoys me too. But I don't like the people that think that they're being quiet and they're not being quiet.
Yeah.
Like, this right now is a whisper, what I'm doing into the microphone.
Yeah.
Can you hear me whispering? This is it. When people whisper like this, when they're like, hey, who's the guy in the movie right now? I can still hear you. Like your breathiness it's invading my ears, and I'm not really a fan of it. Yeah, so, you know, if you're listening at home, those are the 10 things you should not be doing at movie theaters. I don't think our listeners do that, though.
It's just kind of amazing.
Except for
how
Dylan. Dylan probably does all 10. I'm just kidding.
It's amazing to me how little respect there is for like the movie theater experience at this point. Because I grew up doing a lot of theater and seeing a lot of theater, and like, you do not talk, you do not get up to piss, you do not show up late, you can't get in. And I feel like even in the theater world, I feel like the respect for that, in the past like 5-10 years, I feel like I've seen people get up to piss.
Really?
People have started coming in late a little bit more.
Which is really funny, and my hat is off to you, sir, because one thing I've learned about Leland Brungard in his 3-day stay here in sunny Southern California is he has to pee.
I have the smallest bladder.
But I've seen 3 movies with him in theaters. Never got up once to pee, even in the 2.5-hour Inception.
Yeah.
Never once got up to use the bathroom.
And I really thought I was going to piss.
And before we saw Inception, we had like a lot of sake.
Good amount of sake.
It wore off by the time we saw it, but it was in our system. We broke the seal already, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, I almost peed my pants in Amoeba. Had to like, me and Robert had to run across the street to a Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
And we're like waiting for the hobos in the bathroom to get out so we could get in there and just pee on the floor. So I'm gonna explode. My urine could not come out fast enough. Almost peed my pants before the movie. Like, I was trying to hold it off as long as I could.
It happens.
Like, I just want to hold it up, so then I can just try to get out as much as I can.
One of the reasons, and I'm so glad out there, I know I made fun of Dylan earlier. Hi, we're not making fun of you. You're amazing. No comment. But I will say, he talks about The White Ribbon a lot as being a fantastic movie, and you and I reviewed that movie a few weeks back. It's amazing. But the first time I saw it in theaters, and I was starting to get sick, and I remember at like the 20-minute mark, I had to pee so badly.
Right.
And I was like, I know this movie's 2.5 hours, and I was like, maybe I'll go. No, I'm not gonna go. And then like it was at like the 1.5-hour mark, and I'm like,
and you've spent the last 45 minutes
thinking about how
whether
bad
or not you should piss or not.
So I've missed all of the. I mean, and White Ribbon is a complicated movie, even if I was sober and totally focused. Yeah. Imagine me being sick and having to pee like a racehorse and sweating like on the girl next to me and coughing silently into my hand like that, silent like. It's like I'm almost vomiting into my own palms.
The moral, guys, don't be a dick.
Yeah, and
nitpicket.com.
Nitpicket.com. And I do want to say, too, before we get into our beloved Inception review, which we're about to do, there were a lot of people that were very excited for this right now. And, I just want to know, how's this holding up for you?
Is this everything you dreamt it would be?
Kevin Cackman, are you wetting yourself currently? Mr. Kyle Innerpattern?
Joe O'Mara?
How do you feel?
I don't know if Joe listens anymore.
Do you like Leland's shirt? Do you like it? How's the plaid working for you?
People have often, you know, there's that expression, a face for radio.
Right.
But we got great faces.
We have faces.
We got to get this.
We have faces for.
To you.
This guy right here. You see? No, you. No, you. How's
Both.
Look at these hands, by the way. Those are delicate fingers.
Look at that.
Anyway, okay.
Let's jump into the main event, Aaron.
It's main.
Christopher Nolan, of course, one of our favorite directors, Memento.
I would probably say
following. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, The Prestige, Insomnia. Isn't that that's the film.
That's his catalog, basically.
Pretty fantastic track record. I believe, was The Dark Knight your #1 of that respective year? Was The Wrestler your #1?
Yeah, I think
Top 5
New York.
anyways.
Yeah, it was. I think Synecdoche, New York was #1.
We both love Christopher Nolan.
I love The Dark Knight, though.
This entire summer has been so incredibly lackluster. Let me lay this out for you guys. We've got Leo DiCaprio, Joey Gordon-Levitt,
we do.
Ellen Page.
Yep.
We've got an all-star cast. Even Michael Caine very briefly appears in this movie.
Literally has probably 5 lines.
Yeah, he's in barely any scenes of this flick.
Right.
The plot of this movie, it's a world in which we have the technology to invade people's dreams, and Leonardo DiCaprio and his crew are kind of like bank robbers, except
they're kind of like Ocean's 11.
Exactly. Everyone has their specialty. Leo DiCaprio. There's a guy who shapeshifts. There's a guy who builds the entire dream.
Like the architect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they typically go in and they find these safes and they take information out of people's brains that they probably wouldn't reveal on their own.
Normally.
This guy comes to them and he says, hey, is it possible to plant an idea in someone's brain?
Which is known as Inception.
Right. What's his
like Ken Watanabe. He's a business. I don't want to go too much into the plot, but I mean the basic whatevs. Tells Leonardo DiCaprio, Leonardo DiCaprio is also, being accused of a murder that may or may not have taken place on his former wife, Marion Cotillard. We also forgot to mention she's in it. She's fantastic and beautiful. And he basically says, if you can do Inception and plant this idea in this person's mind, because basically if you plant the idea, he thinks it's his own, so he creates it himself. If you can do that, you're off scot-free, and it'll be perfect, and they think it's a very complicated job, and what ensues is that very
trying to get
job.
Cillian Murphy to split up his father's empire.
Right.
His father died, and they want him to split up the entire empire. This summer has been so depressing to me as a fan of movies.
Yeah.
It's been tough. And this movie, Aaron, it is complex. It is, at times I was being like, I don't even know what's going on sometimes. Right. But Christopher Nolan is a director that I feel like has earned the benefit of the doubt. And at the end of the day with this movie, did you end up trusting Christopher Nolan enough to take you through a complete mind fuck of dreams to try to plant Inception into someone's brain? Did it work for you?
Yes, thoroughly. I think right off the bat, without saying the specifics as to why, I think it's easily the best movie that you're going to see all summer. And it's easily one of the best movies of the year for me. And I think one of the things that's so amazing about Inception to me is how, you talk about the movies we've seen week after week, A-Team, Splice, these movies that literally you sit in your chair and it's just like, you can be like, duh, and like it just washes over you. You don't even need to really pay attention. You are, it's a 2.5 hour long film that does not feel like it's 2.5 hours at all. I realized it was about to be wrapped up. I was like, it's already 2.5 hours? Like, I almost wanted more from everything Christopher Nolan was giving you. And what's great about it is that for 2.5 hours, from beginning to end, you are constantly, as an audience member, engaged, participating, and thinking about everything that's going on and everything that you're seeing. And I would even go so far as to say, there are a lot of action scenes in this movie, and a lot of pretty amazing action sequences. One after another. And I would say that even in those, you are still thinking about everything that's going on, where these characters are at. And the film does get very complex. It's a dream within a dream within a dream within another dream. It's just, it stacks on top of one another. And I think it's so incredibly fascinating. It's so inventive. It's so creative, the things that go on, as a movie about dreams should be. And it's an incredibly engaging film for audience members. And I think one of the things I really love so much about it is how it's such a complex film and it has such complex ideas and concepts behind it. But Christopher Nolan knows how to keep the audience on track. I think it's a summer blockbuster that needs you to think, but I don't think too many people are going to walk out of the film confused. I think it does a good job of setting up. There's a lot of scenes in the beginning where they're explaining what Inception is. Yeah, it's a classic writing technique. You need a new person, get Ellen Page in there, and it makes an excuse to explain the rules and the laws of the game,
of the world they're setting down. Right. And I was amazed because there's a lot of details in this movie, and I want to go back because I want to actually wrap my head around everything that's going on. But with this movie, there's a lot of details, but I never felt like I had no idea what was going on. Right. It's weird. I watch a movie like A-Team, which is dumb as balls, but I honestly have no idea what's going on half the time. Because I'm just like, you're just saying words, and I don't give a shit. Yeah. This movie has...
You pancake my car, fool!
This movie, at every single moment, I was tired at the end of this movie. Because for 2.5 hours, this movie does not let up.
He was also super drunk, so that probably...
I wasn't super drunk.
Just kidding.
I had a light buzz, and it was wearing off by the time
it wore off within the first 10 minutes.
But by the time the movie had begun, it was wearing off. I was tired by the end.
Because you're working.
I was thinking the entire time. I was completely engaged. And there are some of the most, probably some of the most effective special effects I've seen. I would say probably since